Association. And with me is the executive assistant, Katie. Katie actually does everything that happens. I just admit. But if you want to know what actually goes on, and if you need some information or you need some pieces to your puzzle, Katie's there to help you. The reason for establishing the National Fire Escape Association is to not only bring awareness, like we do in these educational things, but also to be a warehouse of information, for a resource for folks like yourself and around the country, where you can get everything online. Everything we offer out there is free. The seminars are free. The information that you go online is free. Any forms that you get are free. We do that through our partnership with folks like Cisco's companies, the fire escape engineers and fire escape services that they offer. But this is a problem that's going to get only worse. You're talking about 75 to 100-year-old fire escapes, where I know firefighters, like my family, don't want to go on. And the folks that are going to be hurt in this are definitely going to be the firefighters that use them, or the people that are going to be trying to get out. It's never the building owner, it's never the building inspector, it's always the firemen, it's always the tenants. So we want to bring awareness, we want to educate you, and we want to be a resource for you to use. Any questions that you have, give us a call. We're happy to point you in the right direction and get you to the right kind of people. If you have any questions afterwards or during, just give me a yell. Today we have Cisco, that is the expert of experts. He's the one that we go to at any time we need some information. He has an organization nationwide, the only nationwide organization, Fire Escape Engineers and Fire Escape Services. We use them quite a bit. They're a great resource. He's always willing to give his time. And I said, he is the expert that people need to go to. I get to travel around the country. Last week I was out in LA and got to look at a nice project. We actually went on a Hollywood set because they wanted to film somebody coming down a fire escape, and that had to be, they had some issues with it. They had some cameramen they want to put out on the balcony. They want to make sure that was okay. So they had hired a company to do some testing and load testing for that. So I had an opportunity to go out there and see that. But as I go around the country and see some of these rusty monsters that are just a disaster waiting to happen, I think something has to be said, something has to be done. And New England, unfortunately, is whether it's the conditions that we get to test, the perfect testing ground. You start in Baltimore and go north, it's bad. You start in Chicago and go to the Twin Cities, it's not much better. They might be 10, 15 years behind us, but it's coming. It's only a matter of time before we have more stuff on Channel 5 News at 5 o'clock that some firefighter has lost his life because the fire escape just wasn't up to snuff. So today we'll show you some things, educate you a bit, and hopefully you have a better understanding of what it is we do and why we do it. So Cisco is...
All right, so the first thing we're going to do is really open it up and talk to you about what we have here is 75 years in the making. So let's start here first. It took 75 years for this to occur. We cannot fix it in 75 minutes. So what we're about to suggest today is actually going to take 3 to 5 years to implement. It starts with step 1, and that is just situational awareness, and that is 25 years ago, this wasn't really killing anybody. 50 years ago, this wasn't really killing anybody. Today, she's 75 years old. She's got packed rust. She's got blown out connections that I can stick my fingers in. She's got treads ready to drop. She's got rusted connections. She's got orange base, which is lead paint. And this came off of school last year, an elementary school in Cambridge. And you know who brought this to my attention? Was it the yearly fire inspection and sign off? No. Was it the yearly building inspection and sign off on that school? No. It was the maintenance guy saying, can you please get this fire escape off my building? I've convinced the principal to replace it. Because they've been patching it with all these little welds and all this little crap, and this is how I found it. The beauty about this fire escape, and I'm 51 years old, I got hijacked by my dad into the ornamental iron business. He's still in the business today. And I started, my jump into this was when Harvard gave me 375 fire escapes to inspect. I still work with Harvard to the present day, doing the exact same thing. But very rare was I ever able to save a slice, a piece of cake. So even at my Westboro show that I did with you there, I didn't have this with you for that day. But I was able to take this. This is off the top. I've got another one. I wasn't able to bring it today, and it's the bottom piece of it. A couple of shreds at the bottom. What we did is we sliced it down the middle and we joined it together. And half of it is the original. The other half is all the wrong ways to fix it. I wasn't able to bring that one. I was able to bring you is the 75-year-old grandma that's here. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is really open it up and talk to you about what we have here is 75 years in the making. So let's start here first. It took 75 years for this to occur. We cannot fix it in 75 minutes. So what we're about to suggest today is actually going to take 3 to 5 years to implement. It starts with step 1, and that is just situational awareness, and that is 25 years ago, this wasn't really killing anybody. 50 years ago, this wasn't really killing anybody. Today, she's 75 years old. She's got packed rust. She's got blown out connections that I can stick my fingers in. She's got treads ready to drop. She's got rusted connections. She's got orange base, which is lead paint. And this came off of school last year, an elementary school in Cambridge. And you know who brought this to my attention? Was it the yearly fire inspection and sign off? No. Was it the yearly building inspection and sign off on that school? No. It was the maintenance guy saying, can you please get this fire escape off my building? I've convinced the principal to replace it. Because they've been patching it with all these little wells and all this little crap, and this is how I found it. The beauty about this fire escape, and I'm 51 years old, I got hijacked by my dad into the ornamental iron business. He's still in the business today. And I started, my jump into this was when Harvard gave me 375 fire escapes to inspect. I still work with Harvard to the present day, doing the exact same thing. But very rare was I ever able to save a slice, a piece of cake. So even at my Westboro show that I did with you there, I didn't have this with you for that day. But I was able to take this. This is off the top. I've got another one. I wasn't able to bring it today, and it's the bottom piece of it. A couple of shreds at the bottom. What we did is we sliced it down the middle and we joined it together. And half of it is the original. The other half is all the wrong ways to fix it. I wasn't able to bring that one. I was able to bring you is the 75-year-old grandma that's here. So what we're going to discuss today is all the kind of ideas that you have that says, okay, can we fix this in 75 minutes with a meeting? Nope. Can we take a program where we're going to now make it part of our daily awareness, because you already got all we're going to do is add it to your list. We're going to add it to your fire department checklist. That's once you're giving somebody the smoke detector sign off, guess what you ask for? Because alarms, a smoke detector gets out, you go out on a fire escape. So if alarms are going to go off and I'm in my bedroom, this is outside, so you just add it to the list by hand now, because you need to print new documents in the future. But for now, you just add a new box, you write in affidavit. I'm sorry, they don't want to call it, the state doesn't want you to call this an affidavit anymore. The fire escape affidavit has to be called a fire escape certification. We'll talk about that later, because this word came up, it's on their website, mass.gov. But you want that affidavit. You're going to ask for it. You're not going to ask for an inspection. You're not going to ask for a load test. You just say, I need a copy of your current certification for that fire escape in the back. They say, oh, it's in great condition. You should go out there and look at it. It's great. I say, I don't want to look at it. I'm just signing off the smoke. This place looks great. You did a great job here. I just need the current certification. If they don't have one, sign off your smoke, give it to them, but it's an incomplete document that you're putting in, because the fact that it doesn't have an affidavit automatically triggers a building department request within 30 days to have a fire escape happen. So there's an automatic coming from the fire department that everything you guys touch that you're going to allow to occupy, you always ask as the final piece, because there's 2 means of egress. The building department now, you guys have your yearly inspections that you do. So everything you yearly inspect on that you're signing off on any building, just pencil it in now or pen it in now, ask for a current affidavit. I got I'll stop saying the word affidavit. The state does not want you to use the word affidavit. They want you to call it a certification. I'll show you that document in a second. It's on the .gov. They don't have one? It's okay. Sign off like you always have. Don't stop the process. But now within 30 days, what do they have to do in order for you to close that file? Boston right now won't let you close a building permit unless you have a current affidavit on file. So you come in to fix a toilet, what do you need to close the permit? Fire escape certification. That's what Boston did. They started adding it in at the end. They didn't care what you did to the building. To close it, but I only changed the light bulb. Yeah, you got a permit, it looks good, you signed off. I need an affidavit to close the permit. So two very simple systems that over the next 3 to 5 years are going to find every fire escape. A story about this. Let's take this story. This came out of a school last year. But let's take this fire escape as a typical fire escape on the back of every building. Well, let's change the story around a little bit, and let's talk about a traditional building where a 3-story building in Worcester, and some guy has a front stairway that you guys have examined, and he had a rear stairway that you guys have examined inside the building. But then all of a sudden, because some of his tenant needed closet space, he went in and took out the rear stairway inside. What would immediately happen in a future subsequent follow-through on some other permit activity in that building, and then you realize that the guy, without telling you, removed the interior staircase on the back. What would happen to that building that minute, on the building department side?
Probably violation would be an egress law.
Would you let them continue to occupy?
Probably not.
Right? Because what's it's missing?
Second means.
Second is Rigas. Okay, it's not you guys that went there, it was the fire prevention. You know, they went to do a smoke. And you guys walked in the front stairs, and then you said, where's your interior rear stairs? I remember this building. Oh, we took it out, we needed closet space. What would you do?
Oh, over there, and have them inspection service heading down.
Do what to the building though?
We'll put them on alert that they're.
Oh, so you let them continue using it? Without a second means?
Until we get an inspection services, go down and take a look at the buildings.
And what we're hearing here is that most, if not all the times, it's completely shut down. Everybody out of the building, because what don't they have in the middle of the night to get out? Second means to be right, so it automatically shuts it
What
down.
we'll do is we'll call them, we'll wait there until they get there.
Right, but they basically show up and say,
And then they show
okay,
up.
nice closet space, but everybody out of the building. You know, they do that in a hotel, take out all the, to make an extra room, they take a second stair out of the hotel. What do you do in the hotel? Everybody out of the hotel, right? That's a norm. So I'm going to show you the respect that an interior staircase has compared to an exterior staircase or fire escape, right? This is now the exterior fire escape that you have on your building that you went to see here in Worcester. And she's in a state of collapse. So do you really have a second means of egress?
No.
But yet, if you find this one, you'll give the guy a violation. You'll let him occupy the building. You'll let him use it and fix it over the next 30, 60, 90, 6 months, a year. Because if it's outside and ready to collapse, what respect do you give it? None. But you take this, you bring it inside, or you remove it completely, you start freaking out. Right now, you don't have anything you can step on. This thing is in a state of collapse. Yet, sometimes fire escapes on the outside don't get that respect. When she's a life safety issue, when the fire escape on the outside, you don't have a second means of egress. You have to shut that building down. But that's not always the case. But you take the same scenario inside, you remove one of the rungs of stairs inside of any building, everything shuts down. Yet you walk to a fire escape and you look up and you got 5 treads dangling. The building seems to continue open for some reason or not. So we'll constantly refer back to this, but all the welds, and I'll throw the welding as the one piece. Can the EPA says you got lead? Can you burn lead?
Can you burn it?
Can you burn lead?
No.
Oh. So can anybody weld fire escapes that have lead on it?
Sure.
Well, the EPA says you can't. You know what? If I get caught by the EPA welding this fire escape that has lead, you know what this fine cost me? $35,000.
Well, you have to be certified.
That's right. You have to have an EPA renovator's license. That still doesn't stop me from getting a $35,000. Just so you know, 98% of all the fire escapes in the United States are bolted connection fire escapes for a reason. They heat up in the summer and do this. They cool down in the winter and do this. They're made to move all the time. you can't move welds. Welds snap, rip, and as soon as you have any rust jacking or ice jacking happening on a weld, they snap immediately. Okay, so that's the main thing you have to understand with welds. And the EPA just said now, if I catch you welding on a fire escape, which is an improper repair to begin with, the EPA has now stepped in and says you can't burn anything that has lead. So a weld is a burn, and there's a $35,000 penalty associated. Yes?
So if somebody's fixing a fire escape, do I need to have him get a hygienist to come down and test the?
No. All fire escapes older than 1978 are presumed to have lead. You're
Okay.
supposed to have an EPA renovator's license, so you already know what to do. You need to change this bolt out. You need to put a bolt, you can drill a hole here and put a bolt there. You can't weld it.
Okay.
That's all. It already comes to you bolted, so why are you welding? Most guys, to see this bolt here, they would just rather weld here than change these two bolts. Because to change the bolts, I gotta open up the connection, remove the rust, spray some primer in there, and if possible, inject some silicone. They don't wanna go through that. Joey just drags the welding cables, and does he call you for a fire permit? No, he never does. Paint job. And by the way, let's hit that right now, and then we'll start flying through the slides. 75 years ago, when 5 years after this was built, did it need repair or a paint job? Paint. You need a permit to paint?
No.
All right. 25 years later, right? She was showing some sign of rust. Did I pull a permit to repair it, or did I just continue playing on the paint, on maintenance?
Probably paint.
Probably paint, the maintenance, a couple little wells which you didn't see, so did I need to pull a permit? 50 years later, she's got a few bolts popping here and there like this one, and I started, I saw some problems and I welded this. Am I under a repair permit or I'm under a paint maintenance permit? Paint permits, because you know who you pay on those? Nobody. You don't pay nobody. So all of a sudden, you show up and you catch me doing something, what do I tell you?
I didn't know.
No, I'm just painting the thing. But you want a permit, I'll get one. You know what I'm saying? And then, by the way, 50 years ago, not even today, do I have an engineer watching what I'm doing? Do I have an engineer watching Joe, local welding ironwork guy, doing this? I don't know if some of you know welding, what it looks like. This ain't it, but, right? So do I have any oversight? And since I didn't pull a permit, are you ever gonna go come check my work? So then you go on the phone and you start pounding the phones because after I fixed what I wanted to fix, because it's all based on how much the guy gives me. The guy gives me this much money, I fix this much stuff. You know what I'm saying? What do I do with the rest of the stuff because it's already Friday and it's 3 o'clock and I gotta get home?
Paint it.
Paint it and caulk it with silicone. So this big gap over here, what do I do? And this bolt, if I move it, there's no bolt, the shaft is gone, but what do I do? There's rust here, what do I do here so that, in case you are opening your eyes, what do I do with that?
Weld them on, two-part process.
Hey, caulk it up, you fill it with caulking, and you paint over it, and I'm not gonna have a check from a city official anyway, I haven't paid any money on these fire escapes in 75 years. But then I call around and I start pounding the phones. Hey, Mr. Engineer, registered professional, how much do you charge an hour to come and look at a fire escape that is painted? 75 to 125 bucks, is that a reasonable offer, right? Guy says, great, can you come today? He'll say, do you have a check or cash? Well, I have cash. So all of a sudden that guy comes down and you just finished painting, do you think he's gonna get on it? He ain't getting on it with his shoes, right? And he comes down and he's already got enough money, he has power windows not rolled down, so he goes, pulls up, drives, looks, and does what?
Looks good to me.
Looks, nice paint job, well, looks good, right?
He takes out his rubber stamp.
What do you call those guys?
Rubber stamper.
Stand horse?
Yeah.
And that document states, excuse me. Let me show you that document. Issued by Massachusetts. Go in the middle here. It's this one, dead middle. So, if you don't have a certification, use this one. This is the Boston certification. We call this an opinion letter. Other people call it a certification. I think today's class is going to show that somebody has abused the word certification. We're gonna give you our definition of certification. We're gonna give you our definition of load test. It's up to you to make a decision what you think is the standard. But if you read this, and this is what you have to sign in Boston, and you can be ready to the best of my information, knowledge, and belief. Is that a disclaimer? These egress components is in conformity with the provisions of the Mass Building Code 1001.3. Even though it says 805, disregard this is an older certificate. What's that mean? To the best of my information, knowledge, and belief.
Looks good to me.
Looks good to me. So we have some confidence tests that we've generated that are used, the nationally recognized certifications. If you go to seattle.gov and you go to fire prevention, because that's who runs the show there on these type of inspections, and you go to inspections and testing documentation, you'll have sprinkler confidence testing. You can just copy it. They also have fire escape confidence testing. Why do you think they have a confidence test? Because they were proactive, or because somebody fell almost to their death or to their death? Somebody almost fell to their death. They brought me in about 5 years ago to teach a class just like this, and they didn't have a confidence test, so we made one up. And that confidence test basically is what we're going to use now to make sure that everybody's doing their job correctly, because now the engineer, we think, should be put to a higher standard, and that is a confidence test, which we'll talk about in a second. Okay? So let's go into some of these slides, but we're gonna show that an opinion letter is just that, it's an opinion. Whereas the code right now, specifically, all three codes concur. There's only two things you can do in this state. Load test it or certify it to get you assurances. I can't even use the word guarantee. To get you the best assurance you can ever get. So let's talk about what those are, and let's go into a few things here, okay? Hopefully, as the day gets better, you guys will see more.
Didn't work better down the other side?
Um,
Did you try it?
What we were getting is, as we were trying to record it, we were getting a lot of, you couldn't see anything, it was just the camera was getting the
Oh, you should
total washout. So you guys, let's take a look at the back. Put this in the back of your, put this in the back of your, or on your wall, put this, frame this. This is what happened in 73 here in Marlborough Street in Boston. If anybody doesn't know the sequence of events taken by Stanley Foreman, who won a Pulitzer Prize for the last photograph. Basically, he was able to hold onto the ladder with one hand and save himself. Sadly, the woman and her niece fell. The woman fell to her death. And because of this, they changed the codes in Massachusetts to inspect fire escapes every 5 years. Prior to that is you must maintain your fire escape at all times. When you have a law that says you, the homeowner, is responsible for maintaining it at all times, what happens? So with that, let's talk about the codes that are out there. The International Fire Code states that the testing and certification, any fire escape system found to be in a state of deterioration or unsafe shall be repaired immediately. Depending upon structural condition, a load test shall be conducted. So they want a load test. By the way, we're not pushing load tests today. At the end of this, you're not going to be making everybody load test your fire escape. So let's get that right out. We're now load testing fire escapes. But in case things get stupid, and some people just don't want to work with you, and people, you know what you got? You know what you got? In the fire side, you know what your trump card is when people are just not paying attention to you? It says right there, depending upon structural condition. Who depends? Who's using this word depend? It's the authority having jurisdiction. If he's not satisfied, even though the building department says, well, I got a certificate and I got this, and he goes, well, I'm just not happy, I want my load test. So the fire department has all the right to order a load test because you're not depending upon structural condition. Let's talk about the NFPA, Quincy, Massachusetts. The authority having jurisdiction shall be permitted to approve any fire escape stair that has been shown by load test. First it's load test or other satisfactory evidence to have adequate strength. Isn't this the depending upon structural condition? So we're really pushing the thing back to, okay, the load test is my trump card that I use whenever I'm not satisfied, but I'm really about this other evidence of strength. So let's talk about this fire escape in a little while, of what I could do besides a load test to give you assurances that she's not going anywhere. Can that be done? The answer is yes. The building code, which is our code here, 1001.3, it says, testing and certification, all exterior fire escape systems shall be examined. What's examined mean?
Second, look.
Looked at first, right?
Right.
Right? It's got to be looked at. Or tested. What's tested mean?
Load test.
Load tested. So all three codes confer, and then it says, and or certified. What certified means? Is it other evidence of strength to have adequate strength? That's all it means. Certified means you're going to give me some documentation, some proof. Otherwise, this guy's going to order a load test, this guy's going to order a load test, this guy's going to order a load test. But if the industry does something to not do a load test because it's $3,000, $5,000, $10,000 to drag around sand, water, cables, does that money buy any bolts? Nope. Does that buy any paint? Nope. Right? So this is not a load test. I didn't go out and buy stock in load testing, thinking, oh man, we're going to jump the mark. It's not about load testing. It's all about other evidence of strength, which is what you thought was happening for 75 years under your paint program. How's it coming along so far? So it took 75 years of abuse. So let's talk about what happens in Boston. In Boston, there's only 2 licenses in the country that you can have zone fire escapes. Boston issues a G3 license, and LA issues you a Reg 4 license out of their fire department to test fire escapes. And no license in the United States. There's none. So all of a sudden, back to Boston. In Boston, you know who can sign the certificate? It says right there, certification required every 5 years by Massachusetts registered professional engineer or others qualified and acceptable to the building official. City Boston license A, B, or G3 builder. Does anybody know what a G3 builder is? A G3 builder is a guy that does window guards and railings. And he also fixes fire escapes, so it's a little ornamental iron workshop. So, you know, I've had my G3 license for 20 years. Do I need to pull a permit? No. I'm painting. I'm using the paint program that all the cities in Massachusetts offer me. So I got to call in Worcester or Chelsea or anywhere. I walk in. You think I'm going to make the client make me pull a permit? I'm a one-stop shop. I can do everything for you. I can examine it. Looks crappy. I can fix it. Depending on how much money you're going to give me. Otherwise, I'll use my paint program to complete the project for you. So you give me a lot of money, I'll do the right job. You give me a little money, what do I do? Change only what I think is bad and do what with the rest of the money? No, Home Depot, Rust-Oleum, you know, right? And then it comes time to sign off for you guys. What am I going to give you? Let's say this is in Boston. I give you the certificate. And who can sign it?
He can. A G3.
A G3 guy. It says right there. The code says that I'm a brain surgeon and I can sign off. Right there. So how much work do you think engineers have in Boston?
So much.
You know what I'm saying? Because what do they want to go really babysit and do the correct job? You know, $750, $1,500, $2,500 to really get this baby done? What's a G3 guy charging?
Nothing.
I started charging way back when. Everybody thought I was crazy. I started charging for inspections. And everybody thought I was crazy because you were getting for nothing. Now, today, if you call in Boston, guess what they charge? $100 to $300 is the average. So they caught quickly onto that market that not only can they go somewhere and pretend they're inspecting it, but they can collect gas money, $100, $200, $300. Do they generate a report back to you? No. Do they collect the $100, $200, $300? Yeah. So there's the abuse that's happening. They sign off on their own work, and this was actually happening. This G3 was migrating as far out as Worcester, far out as Springfield, because You walk out there, you're doing this repair on some house in, some building way out in Chicopee, you know what I'm saying, wherever, and the building inspector says, oh, you know, you're gonna, how are you gonna sign? Well, I have my G3 license in Boston, I sign off on all the fire escapes, and you start waving that around, and what happens? They say, oh, okay. I need a certificate. Oh, okay. Well, this license I signed off in Boston, and what do you guys say? Oh, okay. So, we've had a badge, we've had a gun, and what have we been doing out in the Wild Wild West? Having a free-for-all. Thank you very much. But 75 years later, what's starting to happen with these things? They're falling, they're catching firemen, and now we're basically here to say there's a gap, there's a loophole, and everything we're about to do already exists in the law. So we're going to show you everything that you have to do when it comes to fire escapes, because it already exists. So there's nothing new I'm going to show you guys. This is actually out here. You guys got a detention center on Route 9, a juvenile detention center. This is the fire escape there. It's inside a courtyard. You can't get out, but when you first walk up to it, you know, the guy brought me out. Doesn't look too bad, right? It looks like it needs a paint job. As soon as you look underneath, I'm sorry that it's so bright here. What we got? Tons of, sorry, it's a bunch of rust ready to drop this fire escape. So, this is another one.
It's a state facility, isn't it?
It's a state facility on Route 9.
We don't have any jurisdiction.
Right, I know. I'm just using it as an example. Everybody, I'm at fault. You know what this was this is called the perfect storm of stupidity. Building inspectors didn't do their job. Fire inspectors didn't do their job. Engineers didn't do their job. Iron workers didn't do their job. So it was a perfect storm. 75 years in the making. And we're not going to fix it today. We're just going to make you aware that there is a process that you can start getting back, putting it on checklist, and these will get eaten up. Every single one will get eaten up like sprinklers were. Remember when sprinklers 30 years ago, you'd have tons of buildings with non-active sprinklers in various parts of the building, and the building was still active? Does that happen today? Nope. Why? Awareness, a lot of things came up. People had to die in fires that the sprinklers were all shot up. Well, if we need to kill a few more kids and firemen on these fire escapes, so for this to be, something that's really important, let's do it. I mean, you guys know anybody you don't like is there any department? No? No, not at this time? Okay, well, then we might have to do something else more proactive. But, guys, here's the biggest issue when these guys are in the middle of the night showing up a fire escape. What they don't carry with them to effectively do their job. It takes a 1/4 inch. To grow a 1/4 inch, I need 25 years to let it go. To grow a 1/2 inch, I need 50 years to grow this 1/2 inch. What firemen can't do while they're fighting fires in the middle of the night is run up with a 3-pound sledgehammer and do this.
Is this a load test?
So I'm going to show this a couple times. So what you saw there is one of my inspectors not performing a load test. It's a safety test, meaning I got to walk up this thing. I got a little 3-pound hammer and I ping the treads. And as you can see, did he continue with his inspection?
No, walk away.
So we want to, as one of the possible ideas here, I think it's impractical, but let's give every firefighter a 3-pound sledge. And whenever he hits a fire escape, he just starts pinging his way up, just pinging his way down. Think that's going to be effective? Now, a lot of you guys don't know this, but let me tell you a little rule of thumb that happens in every fire station. When you've got the gray-haired guys teaching the new dark-haired guys who don't go gray we're going to go gray soon, they say, in case of fire, don't use the... Right? Is that that's an internal thing, right? Saying, I don't care if there's a baby up there, a woman screaming, don't use the fire escape. Go get the ladder, take 3 to 5 minutes, bring in a ladder, bring in a truck, go get something, but don't use the fire escape to get that person that I can see with my own eyes. And what usually happens in 3 to 5 minutes? What kills everybody within 3 to 5 minutes? Smoke. So they'll wait. They'll wait for us. Now, is anybody posting this statement in case of fire to the tenants? I know you have a fire escape in the back. Don't use it. Is anybody doing that for the tenants? So the tenants are totally clueless on this, that they should be made aware that nobody gives a crap about fire escapes and that they should never use them, no matter how horrific the situation is. So this is where we need to basically, because right now, that's their standard policy. You go through some of their policies, and what's the policy? With electrical, fire escapes, don't get on them. And as soon as you get on them, get off of them. Right? So, pinging the treads all the way up is not going to be a good idea then. But that's what we do when we got all the time in the world. We do it during daylight. We ping all our treads, and if it, all of a sudden they start falling apart on us with a 3-pound sledge, ping, ping, pong, a pong usually drops it. You see how quickly that dropped? They don't have that leisure. They're in the middle of the night trying to save babies. Bridgeport, Connecticut this year. I'm going to try to move this down here for a second and give it a diagonal.
Might be darker in the closet.
Let's do this. Channel 7, you guys remember the Station 9 fire? 73, I believe. I'm not, 2003, remember? Hank Philippi Ryan called around and she said, Cisco, we're looking to do a short little piece on fire escapes and talk about the people that, you know, in case of fire, you do have options. And then all they wanted to basically make everybody aware is that you can get out in case there's a fire, in case there's a problem. And so I said, sure, but are you aware that 80% of the stuff I look at fails the inspection? She goes, no, can't be. Well, we have laws, we have this. I said, no, there's a lot going on. She goes, well, I don't think so. So I said, well, why don't you come down? And I brought her down to the theater district, and I gave her a 15-minute class on what is a bad fire escape. I showed her what rust looked like on a fire escape there, what a blown gusset looks like, what a falling tread looks like. And then right after that, she goes, okay, well, now show me some fire escapes. I said, no. Walk anywhere you want, and you tell me if they pass or fail. So she became a deputy inspector that day, a deputy fire inspector. This is what she came up with.
The smoke, the flames, and the frightened faces, all in a firefighter's line of duty. But Chief William Hitchcock remembers the night it wasn't the fire that almost stopped him,
Oh, I was scared to death.
but the fire escape that broke underneath him.
Where the railing just came away from the building.
And our investigation found across Massachusetts more unsafe fire escapes, rusty, deteriorating, crumbling, broken. And what state officials didn't know, the system they set up to keep fire escapes safe is also falling apart.
The potential ramifications are disastrous.
So let's look at this one. This expert ironworker is licensed to build, maintain, and inspect fire escapes.
So then over here?
For months, we examined dozens of them with alarming results.
Looking at this today, would this pass inspection?
No.
In dormitories, at theaters, at homes, and apartment buildings.
Rust is actually eating away the metal of the fire escape.
Correct.
And the bottom line?
It'll get weak and then eventually it'll fall.
This one has rotted connections. This one missing bolts, twisted metal.
Would the stairs come down?
No, never come down.
This one a broken tread.
So how dangerous is it for the people inside this building?
This fire escape is definitely going to put somebody either in the hospital or it's going to put somebody in a cemetery.
Fire escapes are so critical. The state building code requires they be certified for structural adequacy and safety every 5 years. But our investigation found that safeguard is simply being ignored. Here's proof. We chose fire escapes at random in Boston, Somerville, Cambridge, Worcester, and here in Quincy. We checked building department files.
But there's no fire escape certification.
Not in this file.
to see if building owners had submitted their mandatory inspection reports.
There's no certification in this one either.
Right.
Bottom line, not one we checked in Quincy had been certified as safe. And the director of inspectional services admitted because of staffing shortages, the city has no idea how many other fire escape owners are breaking the rules.
And as a result, do you know how many fire escapes in your city are safe or not?
Well, I don't know.
In Worcester, not one we checked was certified. In Somerville,
No.
4 more fire escapes,
Did it fall through the cracks? Yeah.
not one up-to-date certification. And again, no system for keeping track.
How can they get away with that?
I guess that the shortest answer of all is because we don't have the resources to sit here and follow up on these things.
If structural deficiencies are reported, local building inspectors can actually evacuate residents until repairs are made.
Would you talk to us on camera about this? No?
But when we surveyed 24 more communities, most admitted they had no idea how many fire escapes were certified. In Taunton, inspectors told us they haven't seen a certification in 25 years. Northampton officials said it's a cold day in hell when that happens. In Cambridge, too, not one of our test buildings was certified, and the official in charge would not come out to discuss it. In Boston, where there are more than 8,000 fire escapes, again, according to inspectional services, not one we checked was certified. Officials know they are required to enforce the building code, but they admit they don't always know if owners are breaking the law.
The building code is being ignored.
Right, but it's difficult to write a violation when you don't have knowledge of something like that.
But state officials say for a critical issue like this, communities should know. And they warn the Massachusetts building code is not optional.
Does it worry you that these fire escapes are not being certified?
This is an important issue and should not be ignored.
That's because after the smoke and flames begin, it'll be too late to learn you've got no way out.
I can't stress it enough, Hank, that these things have to be maintained and someone's got to be watching.
As a result of our investigation, state officials will now issue an alert to local inspectors. Meanwhile, if there's a fire escape on your home or office, you can contact your local building department to make sure it's properly certified. In the newsroom, I'm Hank Philippi Ryan.
Everybody got that memo, right? Yeah,
Do we get any staffing to go with it?
there you go. And the staff, so,
That's the problem. Back in 2005, I started mapping out the city to do all the fire escapes. I just don't have any time. I can't, we're only, at that time, there was only 3 of us.
right,
So I mean, what can you do?
let's do some simple stuff. What did Boston do? Because they got a little bit of embarrassed with this. What did Boston do immediately? So write this down, if you have your documentation, write this down. Can you make the closing of any permit require a fire escape affidavit if there is one on that building? Can you make that mandatory?
Do that now.
No matter what you did on the building, I pulled an electrical permit, a plumbing permit, any activity on a building requires a current certification to close the permit. That's what Boston did. So now you can't close a permit in Boston until there's a final affidavit. So that's how they automatically, without their staffing and their staffing issues, they just added that to the list. So doesn't that automatically pick up some pieces of the puzzle? So just do that to save some money. So the second one, let's go to the fire department. Smoke detector sign-offs. Just sold a building or occupancies, right? When you buy and sell a building, a new occupancy has to be signed off. But let's talk about just the smoke detector sign-offs. If you ask for a certificate, you're not ordering one, you're not ordering an inspection, you're asking for a copy, and you're not even ordering one when you're closing your permit, you're asking for a copy of what should already be there. And they say, what are you talking about? I don't even know. So it's an automatic trigger that says that we'll go get one. We're gonna close your permit, but now it's pending. I mean, you're signed off for your electrical or your little plumbing thing, whatever you did, so you're all done. But I can't close this permit until I get a current affidavit that the guy didn't even know about, now he does. So he has a pending open permit to close, and now on your side, you have a smoke detector sign off because they want to put a tenant in there Saturday. Now they get in there and the smoke detector's fine, it's good, you sign off. What do you ask for? That's part of your checklist, so that you don't need extra staff. What do you ask for? You add to the list, now you ask for a copy of the existing fire escape certification. And they say to you, huh? Do you stop that process? No, you sign off your smoke. But when you submit your paperwork in, it's always two parts. It's the smoke affidavit and the certification and the fire escape, and you don't have it. So is that closed or still open? The fact that it's still open, you do not write the violation. You call the building department and say, what? I have another smoke that doesn't have a current affidavit. Who writes the violation? As soon as he writes the violation, and this is the best part, he writes the violation, what do you use to close your document on that building? His violation. You don't need the copy anymore.
You make it sound really easy, but it's much more complicated, I believe, logistically, doing it.
What would you recommend as a suggestion then?
Well, I think monetary, there has to be some type of fine associated
There
with
is.
these to the owners. Not something that's in plain sight, and certainly not something where.
Well, we do, if you're giving somebody 30 days, and we'll talk about the tags and all this other stuff that we're gonna go through, you can put fines and fees. As a matter of fact, if you look at the Boston certificate, they want $100 or $50 from you.
No, but what I mean is, as a property owner in the city of Boston or Worcester, it's the property owner's responsibility, his responsibility, to make sure his stairway is certified, right?
Yeah, it is.
So if he doesn't have it certified in 5 years, and I do an inspection there and they don't have it, there should be $1,000 fine.
But I wanna go to the public hanging that they're gonna burn you at the cross. It took 75 years to do this. I'm just saying, and Malden did that.
You want enforcement, you want to get it done, but then when we talk about money, oh, wait.
No, I agree. Malden has a $1,000 penalty. They have a document that they sent out. We're just saying, you basically are asking for a certificate, you give them 30 days to comply, or $1,000, $100, $1 million. I don't care it took 75 years for everybody to do it wrong. We can't blame the homeowner. This is the bastard child of egress. Nobody cares. Nobody anywhere cares. The landlord is not looking for more things to spend money on. You guys have not seen it. The fire prevention has not seen it or done anything about it. So we're saying, we're aware now. As a matter of fact, Lowell, I'll send you the letter that Lowell is kind of our model city that we used, that we did the same exact class. They sent out a form, and we'll send it to you, and just take out Lowell off the top. It went out with the tax bills. It says, hi, we're now aware of houses, of fire escapes. If you have a house in our city, please provide us with a current certificate. Otherwise, in the up and coming year, during natural course of business, inspections or whatever, we are going to fine these. So you either voluntarily get going onto the program, and it went out with the tax bills. You need to send it out 4 times? Go ahead, it's the letter. Katie will send you the copy of the Lowell letter. Take their information, copy and paste. Put your stuff there, and it just says, here's the code, here's what you're supposed to be doing. Do it voluntarily, otherwise you're going to get scooped up anyway by building and fire, and there will be fees and penalties associated with people that are non-compliant in this. So you've been warned, you got 30 days. After that, it's a $1,000 fine. Go ahead, put the fines and the teeth into it. I know it's all about not barking, it's all about teeth. Yeah. Otherwise, this is what's going to happen. This is what's going to jump side. You know who's going to be on the news? Right?
Yeah.
And where's the fire chief? Yeah, right? The fire chief has got somebody on the ground. The fire chief's going to point at them because who's watching the show? Right?
I shouldn't have came back.
So this is what we're looking at, and it took 75 years. So what we got, let's talk about the procedures, guys. If you go down to the very end of the page, here, we're going to end on this page, but now let's go to the beginning of the page, all right? So this is at the end. This is like a get started program, okay? So I'm going to go through the book, and then as I go through the page, through the slides, it's all about the book. I just need to know, I got conflicting information. Is this a 2-hour credit or a 4-hour credit? I think we'll do 12 to 4, or is it 12 to 2?
12 to 4. 12 to 4.
Very good. No, because I can either speed through the thing, or, because I thought it was 12 to 2, but I got 6. I've done 6 hours of this. I do bring in dancers and...
Nice.
But that's another story. Okay, guys, so create and implement a set of departmental procedures and guidelines. You know where this came from? This came from the class that you attended over there with Gene Novak. And we actually did another class further out in by Springfield, I think it was. there was another state guy that usually monitors those classes, and he says, we were talking about changing codes and what you have to do. He goes, you don't have to do anything. He says, the codes already exist. What you have to do is, every department has departmental procedures and guidelines for everything they do. How they like electrical things to be done, how they like plumbing things to be done. He says, if you create a generic document that says what the inspectors, the engineers or the inspectors are supposed to do, what the repair guys are supposed to do, and what the painting guys are supposed to do, and it's generic, it doesn't name anybody, it doesn't say anybody, he goes, that's all they need. It's nothing but some guidelines to follow, so that in case anybody has questions, they can either pick it up at your counter, or you can email it or put it on your website. So we use Lowell as an example. The National Fire Escape Association made this up for him for free. Bob Marsilia is the one that's sort of our model city that we use. It's his name and his information up here. This is sent to you as a Word document, so you can take it and modify it and chop it up any way you want and not use any of it or use some of it. It's a copy of his website here. His phone numbers. The code is down here. And the code that has as a side is the NFPA, which is up here out of Quincy. And if you look at that, I'm going to go into much more detail, but if you read the inspections and what they're asking of a registered professional or others acceptable to you to inspect fire escapes, it says right there what they're expecting. When there's a repair guy that's going to come in and fix something, well, it says to the repair guy, get a permit. By the way, you know where you're going to get your permit from? You're going to get your permit from a report that this first guy wrote, and it was approved by the building department guy, because the first two to talk are the inspector and the city official who wrote the violation. A course of action was determined, and then guess what he does? Well, the repair guy's going to do. He's going to do what this first guy found. There's going to be an initial inspection report as a guide, so we're going to go into that. Then let's talk about the painting guy. EPA renovator's license, OSHA requirements in dealing with this stuff. We're going to talk about that today. Okay, so here's the Departmental Procedures and Guidelines. You have them on your countertop. People come in that just got written up a violation, what do you hand them? Or you go online, they say go to worcester.gov/down and fire escape inspections and procedures, Departmental Procedures and Guidelines. Click it. We have it on our website. You can actually print it right off our website. So we'll make one up. Kate, you just speak with Kate, she'll make one up. She'll show you what the Lowell one looks like, and if this is the Lowell one. If you like this one, have your lawyers look at this one. Have your lawyers speak with the lawyer in Lowell, and as long as you're not breaking the law and it's generified, there it is. Got it? So, step 2, test all fire escapes using industry standard confidence tests. Well, we already talked about the EPA, we talked about OSHA. Let's talk about industry standard confidence test. This is the one that if you go to seattle.gov, tacoma.gov, you go onto their website on the fire prevention, you click on confidence tests. They have confidence tests for everything, including fire escapes. And when you read this question now, this is a registered professional, architect or a structural engineer. He reads this. The first part is easy. It's like, what's your name? But the second question is generic, simple, like, hey, is it painted or not painted? But look at the third question. Is every joint on this fire escape that you charge the guy money, is every joint free of rust and corrosion? Not to the best of my information knowledge, I believe the thing was okay. Is every joint on the treads, the supports, the clips, the railings, the grating, is it free of all internal rust? It's a yes/no question. And then it gets to the critical one. It's tied to a building. Is it a wooden building? Have you verified the through bolt and the plate on the inside that it's in good order and hasn't been rotted out? No? Well then, why don't you? The firemen depend on that. Can you verify that the plate is good? Well, that could be expensive. Yeah, that's why you charge money. Well, I don't want to damage the wall. Well, you drill a half-inch hole, stick that little snake they sell at Home Depot, and go in and take a picture of it, and say blow a hole open in the wall, but what they say? Verify, right? Because that's the unknown, right? 97% of the fire escape is outside. That's easily verifiable with common sense. What about what's buried in the cement in the wall? And if you can't verify it, how do you get another assurance? What's the 3 codes concur that you pull out of the back pocket when load test it? Or other evidence of strength. You visually verify it through opening some holes and do some What's another way to avoid having to damage the interior of this wall so I can see if there's a plate inside that wall over there? Just duplicate it. Leave it alone. Let sleeping dogs lie on a 100-year-old building, and next to it, put another epoxy bolt. So that's the cure for the unknown now. Just leave it alone. Pack it, clean it, leave it alone, and right next to it on a masonry building, put in 1 or 2 or 3 Hilti epoxies. And what have you done? You've eliminated the need for a load test. Because if I don't verify that, what are you going to pull out of your pocket? Load test it. Otherwise, if I take some extra precautions, and I can either verify it with photographs for you, or I can duplicate it. And inside on an exterior wall, or the last thing I can do on a building, can I just put legs on the front of the fire escape to the ground and avoid the need to verify anything into the wall? So as soon as I throw legs on the nose of that thing, what happens? On the fire escape, yeah, it's all supported with a bracket.
Right.
As soon as that bracket is pulling from the wall.
Independent fires.
Right, so as soon as you put legs on the nose of it to the ground, that's a leg. The building now becomes a leg. Do I need to verify it anymore? Other than verify that it's properly tied in, you know, it's connected, but do I have to load test it when I put legs to the ground? So on a connection into a wall, I either verify the plate, I duplicate it with epoxy bolts, or I leg it to the ground, and like you just said, I make it independent. I give it its own legs. What happens? Do I need to load test it?
No. Still need to certify it.
Well, I'm going to talk about certification in a little bit. So this next thing is require preliminary and final affidavits to facilitate permit process. This is a great question. We just learned this yesterday. Yesterday we did a class, not yesterday, the day before we did a class in Medford. This came up. I want to see if you guys are aware. The rule is you need construction control over 35,000 cubic feet. Right? So most 3-story buildings will exceed 35,000 cubic feet, right? That pretty much puts everything that's commercial into play, right? Does everything that you do on a commercial building not even require the 35,000 square foot rule? Or is it, if something's smaller than 35,000 cubic feet, does it still need construction control?
Under 35,000 cubic feet, no.
And so if it's commercial, 25,000 cubic feet, and it's commercial, it doesn't need a preliminary?
No.
Because they said yesterday, anything commercial needs construction control, regardless of the cubic feet.
That's not true.
So what is it? It has to
Anything over 35,000 cubic feet.
automatically triggers.
Automatically.
So I get into a fire escape inspection on a building, 3-story, 5-story, it's over 35,000. I already start with this initial affidavit, correct? Construction control, correct?
If you're building something.
No, I'm not building it, because I'm repairing something.
It's still under control.
It's under control, right, because it's either new or existing. It says right on the thing. By the way, the one that we got here, this is how all this came about, is I was actually doing a fire escape in Somerville, and by mistake, they gave me the initial and the final affidavit document. I'm like, oh, this is new. And Paul Nolly over there, I think he's associated with the MBCIA, and he's part of the board. And I spoke with him, I said, hey, oh, this is great. You're kind of creating another barrier to make sure that these things are going to follow. And it was later on that I found out that it was actually not something that I should have been handed because it wasn't over 35,000. But what we did is we took the form. If you want to look on this page, and you got 2 construction control documents. One that says initial and one that says final. All we did to that document, which is a standard document you pull from the website, is add 1001.3 to it. Nothing's changed. So we actually created a document specific only to fire escapes. What we like about it is it brings in the engineer oversight immediately from the get-go. You write a violation on a major structural building, this is going to kick in. So that the owner minimally has to get somebody to call you and say, hi, I'm Joe Brown from something engineering, and I'm going to be sending you the initial, because they've contracted us to get this going. And you'll say, well, great, I need a copy of the examination. And then once you tell me what the findings are, we'll come up with an idea of what's going on with this fire escape. Are we going to spot repair it and load test it, right? So if I leave behind any original hardware, you want an opinion or you want a load test?
Load test.
So if I leave any square head bolt, any rivet, First of all, my confidence test is gonna tell you I have 100% removal of all rust. But I'm still gonna leave behind a 75-year-old square head bolt and a 75-year-old square, round rivet. Great, in good to excellent condition, no rust in it. I'll bring it down there and show you. You want my opinion on it, or you want a load test on it?
Like a load test.
Well, what's the code give you the ability to do?
You can put another one in.
Oh, I know, but that's another thing. We'll get to that one next, but if you leave behind any original hardware on a 75-year-old grandma,
Give me the certification.
we're gonna get the certification, but if I leave behind, I spot repair it only, and I leave behind original hardware, what is one of the things that you should request? For assurance. Otherwise, I'll give you an opinion. I'll give you an opinion letter. It's the next sheet over. It's called to the best of my information, knowledge, belief. I'll give it to you.
Give up.
A preliminary affidavit?
But what we're talking about here is we want a load test. That'll give you the assurance, and that way I can sign off. But now let's talk about certification. It says, no, I didn't want to go there right away. I wanted to say that if somebody starts spot repairing fire escapes for the building department or the fire department, they start giving you these kind of,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
you know what I'm saying? You say, okay, I'm not satisfied. I don't have other evidence of strength. I want a load test. Question?
What load do you require that that's like 100 pounds?
100 pounds per square foot.
100 pounds?
So a 5x5 is 25 square feet times 2,500 pounds of sand, water, or cabling, exerting force on that. But now let's talk about certification, because did I say this was a load selling class?
No.
It's not a load selling class. Let's talk about certification, what I think certification is, and what I think it, forgot the things don't hear anymore, and what it means to certify. Because certification right now, currently in Massachusetts, it says, to the best of my information, knowledge, and belief. Is that certification or an opinion certification? Let me tell you what nationally certification means in other places. Well, our greatest success, guess where? They changed the code because of what we've done.
California.
Oregon. Oregon, they changed the state code. We caught them just in one of those 3-year cycles, and guess what certification means? Certification means you take this 75-year-old structure, you change out every square head bolt, remove 100% of all the rust, and you put in a new bolt. If the clip and the connection is still good, who cares? Put in a new bolt anyway. Or if room allows, leave the rivet that's in good to excellent condition, and like you said, do what next to it?
Another bolt.
Another bolt. That's called reinforcement. So if these 2 bolts are great, and I can verify that, can I drill another one there? Sure I can. I got plenty of room. I can put 2 more over here. So reinforce or replace good to excellent bolts. Guess what you achieve out in Oregon? Certification. So now you've got certification. Otherwise, if you spot repair, do you want an opinion certification? Or do you want a refurbishment certification? Which one do you want that will give you an assurance that you can sleep at night? And these guys ain't gonna die. So we think certification, what the code means, is that you refurbish that. I want as close to a guarantee as possible. I change every bolt on this thing. Are we as close as we can get to the word guarantee? Because I can't say guarantee. No engineer will sign the word guarantee. But the law says I can load test it and not get sued, or I can certify it and not get sued. So what happens if I change every bolt on this fire escape, clean all the connections, good or bad, bolt it together, put it up, sign a certificate to you that says it's certified, and a year later it falls on the ground because some bolt sheared? Who gets sued?
Nobody.
Why?
Because you certified, you changed all the bolts.
Who gets sued? Somebody's gonna get sued. Who?
The person who, the architect or
No,
engineer.
because he did what the law said. He either load tested or certified it, and he chose
The
to.
owner of the building.
No, he can't get sued because he did what the law said. Load tested or
Building
certified.
inspector.
No building inspector. The bolt company.
The dead fireman.
You had a defective product. What failed there was a bolt company. The bolt failed. It's not supposed to shear.
Okay, right.
You can't sue anybody. So sadly, there's somebody hurt or whatever on the ground, but what did the guy do? Did he do anything that the law didn't say to do? He has a choice, but examine it, test it, or certify it. Now, had he certified it under the other program, to the best of my information, knowledge, and belief, could he get sued? If the bolts that we left behind, the rivets, the old rivets and the old squares, they broke, can they get sued? In an opinion?
Yes.
Yes. You know how I know that?
Because you get
It's been
sued.
involved.
I'm involved in one right now
Yeah.
about an opinion. So this is very close at heart, but our situation is really about a well that I didn't even do. But because of that happened, you know what we do to every well we see now on any fire escape? Yeah. Because you're supposed to x-ray it, which they don't require in certain states. This is a Chicago issue. And so what do? We say, good or bad, I mean, if it's bad, you gotta open it and clean it. But do we weld it back? Well, we can't now because the EPA says you got a lid on it anyway. Should have been welded before anyway, but that's another story. As soon as you put a bolt, what happens to that well?
Don't need it.
Don't, do I get rid of it or just leave it
No,
there?
just leave it.
Just leave it there, because I've reinforced it, I'm back down to certification. So in a 75-year-old fire escape, do you believe that I can actually load this fire escape that looks like this, even though it's got packed rust and in some cases it'll actually pass? So let's talk about load test. Can you load test something that visually didn't pass a confidence test? Didn't pass an examination? Is it even lawful to load test a bent ladder on a fire truck? Can you load test a bent ladder on a fire truck? You can't. So why can't we load test a fire escape that doesn't even pass a confidence test? That's why they have the original examination. You pass the examination, let's say you have a 5-year-old fire escape built 5 years ago. You pass the original examination, I now must proceed to a load test or other evidence of strength. So I have a 5-year-old fire escape that you guys built here 5 years ago, galvanized, brand new bolts, not one speck of rust on it. What do I provide to you as evidence of strength? A certification that says this thing's 5 years old. I got no evidence of rust. I got photographs that show no evidence of rust. There's nothing going on with this fire escape. So the average lifespan of a certification, so if I refurbish this grandma, how long do you think I can work with other evidence of strength before I have to change the bolts out again? So anywhere from 15 to 25 years. The average length of a refurb on a fire escape should be every 25 plus minus years. Has that happened to grandma over here?
No.
She's under the paint program, you know, she's just makeup. Always, it's all about makeup. So, by the way, this is all changed now. The same language is if you go to mass.gov, Department of Public Safety, I spoke with Gene Novak yesterday. He goes, Cisco, it's the first thing that you talk about when you click. It's one of the things the BBRS talked about, this certification. So they issued a new certificate or a new document. They have initial, final, in progress affidavits now. And they don't want to call it affidavits. They want to call it certifications. They want the word affidavit stricken. So this was recently printed. So, but it's the same language. The only thing I'm asking you guys, so that you are aware, we did nothing to the document other than to add language at the top here with the building code, the fire code, the fire escape code 1001.3. That's all we did. And in the language, we just basically made sure that 1001.3. So we took a generic document and made it specific to fire escapes. Now, if you use this on every violation, that it is your departmental procedure that you'd like to see most fire escapes go through the process of examination, initial certification, and final certification, what's that going to do to the guys that used to use the paint program, you know, the paint permit? You've eliminated it. They're not out of business. They need to come in and start working. But who's going to watch them? Is it you? You're not going to watch them. You're just collecting a permit fee. Who's watching them? Some structural engineer. How much is he getting paid? Who cares? Because that guy's going to take responsibility. Once the fire escape has been watched, and it says right here you must at least attend 1 or 2 progress visits to make sure everything's going good. He does the final affidavit, signs the final confidence test, and gives it to you. What's the repair vendor still have to do to close his permit? Still needs to call. I'm done with the fire escape, come out and see it. You got to close the permit. The affidavit's already been signed. The confidence test has already been signed. It's already in your jacket. What's that repair guy doing now with you?
He's calling for the inspection.
He's going for the inspection, and you get out there, and what do you see? good work. If you see shoddy work, what do you say?
No good.
What is this?
Yeah.
Guy goes, well, the engineer was here just 2 days ago. He said everything's fine. He goes, dude, who let you well? Where's your fire permit for this well? What's all this packed rust still doing in here? All right, we're gonna have another meeting tomorrow. Come to my office tomorrow morning, be there. Where's this engineer? You got a copy of that certification? Because I got one of those, and confidence test, let me see where that is. Let me see that confidence test. I think I have a copy of the confidence test here. Let me see if that's correct here. It says right here, under the structural, all critical materials connections and/or joints are 100% free of all internal rust or rot. Under paint and perjury, blah, blah, blah thing here.
Oops.
You know who did this? Was Sean up in Lowell, the lead inspector. Engineers were sending him letters saying that they had load tested some fire escapes in their area, in his area. He goes, oh really? Oh, I'd love to see that. Can you show me the documentation? And he sent a couple of these guys in to the registry there, that they were misinforming clients that they didn't perform a load test, but they called it a load test. And basically because their process is in a lockdown mode, similar to this, he's capturing some of these, and the objective is not to go here and start capturing people. It's just to get back into the point that says the paint permits days are over. That's all. All these ideas are just suggestions. Some of these you'll apply, some of these you won't apply. I'm just making recommendations of what I did to get away with murder, but everybody else in the industry, because it didn't exist. You know who else is in my industry? Landscapers. You know who else is in my industry? Florists. You know who else is in my industry? Anybody with a welding machine. You know who else is in my industry? Anybody that can paint a fire escape. You know who else is in my industry?
Riggers.
What is it?
The riggers.
Everybody's in this industry because guess what kind of license you need to do it? Guess what kind of permit you need to pull?
None.
Guess what kind of insurance you need? Guess what kind of liability you're carrying? Guess who's watching you? Guess who you have to buy in order to cash in on that $3,000, $5,000, $10,000 gig? You buy a
2-pound sludge.
a stamp board, right?
Yeah.
A couple of phone calls away, and what do you got? And you guys putting up this thing saying, oh, hey, Charlie, didn't you write that violation on that big, well, yeah, we got a certificate here, it's good. Oh yeah, put it in the file. Don't you want to go out and check it? Nah, this guy says it's good. We got to trust all these engineers out there. They wouldn't lie to us. But then who's on the ground? Then who gets on the news? Right? So let's take the last one, guys, here. Conduct a confidence test. So the confidence test shows up here twice. Why? Because when you do the examination, do you want all passes and all fails? Yeah. You're performing an examination. Did it pass or fail? It failed. Can I see the report? If it passed, what do you want?
See the report.
I want to see the report.
Yeah.
So, if it failed here, it must pass here. So you're going to get 2 confidence tests. Good question. How many preliminary reports have everybody got here in their entire career?
What, just with fire escapes, you mean?
A preliminary report from just some structural guy say, hey, I looked at this, here's my preliminary findings.
We get a lot of that.
Sometimes.
How many affidavits
We
do you
get
get?
soil reports, engineer
Oh.
reports. We get
Let's talk about
steel.
fire escape.
Yeah,
Fire escape only.
We
Fire
get a
escape
lot of those,
only.
don't we, Joe?
I've got one.
Oh, how long you been here?
12 years.
1 in 12 years. Now, how many affidavits mysteriously show up and resolve violations? How many of those have been showing up? Thousands? In all your career, you can have thousands of them? Why? So, these things are happening. We're just trying to tell you, if you want to be aware, otherwise, like an ostrich, what can we do? Bury your head in the sand, and it'll go away when you get your gold watch and you retire out here. Otherwise, sadly, you'll be at a funeral for It was a great program we wanted to initiate. Ready? All rent in Worcester now must be collected by the landlords or the management companies through the fire escape. All right? So all tenants are now required to paste their rent check on the outside of the window and then inform the landlord or the management company to come get the check through the fire escape. How many more fire escapes are going to get fixed now? Okay? Now, we can initiate that program, right? So, I mean, people turn a blind eye to a lot of things, yes?
We've all seen in the code in the last, 10 years, whatever we've been here, the code has gone from this to this. The code is huge, but yet, that little blip, that little vague three-line blip in the building code about fire escapes has remained the same. And/or other certified people, it's just the vagueness of it just leaves way
It's
too
not,
much.
it's not vague anymore, I just told you what it was.
It doesn't say you gotta use a galvanized grade 8 bowl.
Don't need to, that's an engineer's job.
It doesn't say, it's too vague.
It was actually, I always thought it was always too vague and needed more language. The Oregon code, you think they changed the language? The language is exactly the same. They started adding some of this thing about confidence test, and they added something about the tags, which I'm about to talk about next. The code doesn't need to be changed. I thought it did. It didn't. The authority having jurisdiction, that's that guy or you, the authority having jurisdiction shall accept by load test or other evidence of strength. So whose job is it to convince you and assure you of the adequacy of this piece of steel?
The person providing the documentation.
Right. And if he doesn't, he blows you off, he doesn't answer your phone, and he dances around you all the time, and whenever you're supposed to be at a meeting, he doesn't show up for the meeting, and it's about the fire escape. What do you hold out of your pocket now that's already in the book in 3 places? And load test. Right? At any time you pull out, because the code, doesn't the code give you? It says, hey, listen, I'm just not convinced yet. The commissioner's not convinced yet, the fire chief is not convinced yet, There's just, I think I see packed rust. No, that's silicone. And the iron is bulging, and you still got some original hardware here. It's top policy here that if you leave behind one original hardware, not the steel member, because that'll last indefinitely. One original connecting hardware, square head bolts or rivets, I can order to give me assurance. No, but I'm giving you this affidavit. It's very well like the ones I signed in Boston. It says, he goes, yeah, no. You want to give me to the best of my knowledge, information, and belief? Can you attach your house to that, please? What's that guy going to say? By the way, I'm in court. I'm in that court case in Chicago. I'm in court. Guess who else is in court with us? City of Chicago. Why? Because they accepted what? Opinions. So it was one of the best, worst things that could ever happen, because when it happened to us, we said, this is going to change everything nationally, because these opinion letters do what? Leave everybody exposed, including, because I'll give you an opinion, and if you accept it, guess what happens? We're holding hands. But the code says, to avoid liability issues, 2 things you can do, and number 1 is? Load test. Is that what you want to do from now on? No. How much does it cost? $3, $5, $10, $20,000.
Yeah, but isn't it ultimately coming down to a load test?
Nope. Because if you keep refurbishing these things,
You're changing everything.
you're changing everything. That's what they do on a bridge. You go to a bridge that's 75 years old, what do they do with every single rivet on it?
Replace.
Replace every rivet, and what happens to the bridge?
It's like brand new.
It's recertified. And when you cut steel, that's the beauty about steel. This is oxidization. When you cut this straight across, you know what color it is inside? Shiny. You know what they do with that when you're done with it? They melt it down into what? Give you another bar just like it. I'm not talking about the impurities, China, we'll get out, that's another. Guys, issue a pass-fail certificate. and put a tag on it. Let's go to the tags. What are these tags? These tags is what Seattle did after they brought me in. They said, we need to start having a tag program. Every building in Seattle has to have a tag. This is 8.5 by 11. They're plastic. They're 7 to 10 feet off the ground, permanently attached to the fire escape or on the building next to the fire escape. And if it's white, what's it mean? Good. It's good. Who issues the white tags only? Is it city? Do you want the liability?
No.
Oh, okay.
National Fire Escape.
No. Structural engineers or others acceptable to the city official. They have, guess what they have on this thing where it has the phone number? Guess whose number goes there? It's their phone number. So if it's Johnson Engineering, guess whose phone number goes on there? And on the other information, it has contractor, and also the big thing about it, when's the next date? Because if it's every 5 years,
5 years,
it has the next inspection date. So who knows that when it's time for an inspection? Does the tenant know if he sees that tag?
Yeah.
Does the landlord know when he sees that tag? Does the building inspector doing yearly inspections know more or less when the next tag is due? Does the fire official know when the next tag is due?
It's like an elevator, sir.
It's an elevator tag.
You know what we do in the city of Massachusetts for elevators? We hire elevator inspectors.
Very good.
Specifically
Did you
for
put
elevators.
that in for the, because you know, they're looking for ideas now to, it's tough.
I just don't see how we can
Well, here's the point, here's what we do.
even attempt to catch up to any of this.
Well, I'm gonna throw an idea right now that we did in many cities nationwide. Ready? Who issues the reds and the yellows?
The building official.
Building officials and fire officials. How do they issue them? We use this,
Automatically?
it's automatically, it's called an identification program. Did I say it's gonna take 3 to 5 years?
Yeah.
In 3 to 5 years, every one of you will walk through every building pretty much in the city, including fire prevention. What you're doing is you're not changing. We're not trying to add more people or change what you do every day. You're already gonna walk in for your smokes, your alarms, your doors, your whatever. But you're walking in now to every inspection and asking immediately at the front door, you're part of any inspection you're doing, you say, what do you have for egress, interior or exterior? And you're there for a light bulb inspection of some kind. What do you ask for? Are you interior or exterior? The guy goes, oh, I have an exterior. So, okay, great. What do you ask for next? To have ready by the time you're done with your inspection?
Certificate for your fire escape.
A copy. So are you ordering any testing?
No.
I want a copy. I'm here for your light bulb, your plumbing, your toilet, or whatever this permit situation. I need a copy. You already have these printed here. They're 8.5 by 11 on cardstock, and you have a plastic laminator here, right? And these are empties. And all they have on the red and the yellows is just your information. And if you read on it, because if I stick a yellow on, a yellow means it's deficient. Do I see any dangling treads if I put a yellow? No. If I have dangling treads, what color I'm gonna pull out of my jacket? A red one. Now it says, right, there's 3 steps. I'll read the yellow one. It says contact fire or building official, depending who has jurisdiction. And I'll read a little bit there. It says, because the reason why you can't, because there might be repair permits, violation fees, and certifications may apply, right? You're going to give them a little grace period? You want to give them 30 days, 15 days to comply, otherwise fees and penalties will apply? I know everybody also worries about how fees and penalties and things apply because sometimes certain kind of money goes where? Somewhere else. So you have to find out whether or not you want to fund a particular activity and keep that money there so that you can hire somebody to be the main person handling that. I don't know, that's not me, I don't know how you guys do it, but think about that. Number 2, have fire escape inspected. It's very clear. Confidence test by structural engineer, fire escape inspector, or others acceptable to the official. If you don't accept anybody but a structural engineer, guess what happens? You don't take registered architects? You don't take G3 guys? Okay. Who do you accept? Structural engineers? Great. Write it down. You set policy in every city. Number 3, the third step is service and load test. Or provide other evidence of strength. So they already see the word load test here because it's already in the code. Now, let me scare you guys with one more thing, ready? Actually, let me complete this process. You showed up there, you have your plastic tags that are generic tags, and it's called over the next 3 to 5 years, you're just identifying fire escapes. You got your zip ties, these things have 3-hole punches. You say, do you have a tag, do you have your confidence test? I mean, an affidavit? No? All right. You just go there and you just put this on a zip tie on anywhere on the fire escape. Can the guy rip it off and throw it away?
If he wants to.
If he wants to, but it says right here, you can put it, you know, removal of this tag will, depending on what you want to say, but is forbidden by the fire official or it will forbidden by the building department. Now, you've got the tag, you've started the process back here that says this is a 30-day before fines and permits before fines apply. So you just identified a fire escape at 123 Main Street. Will it get fixed immediately? Of course not. Will it start the process? Yeah. Will it take 60 days? No. 6 months? Probably. A year? If you have the meter running on it, what do you care? If it's got a yellow tag on it, because you didn't see any other dangling treads, the meter's running on it, what are you collecting? Right? You got an open violation on that with a meter running, and after a month, it's $1,000 a month. I don't know what number you're going to use. That you can always waive at the discretion of who? Right? So you have this fee thing building up. He can waive or not, but all of a sudden, the tenant, I'm in the building, and I see this yellow tag on there. What am I going to do?
You know, the only part.
Pay permit? Pay my rent?
The part we're leaving out of this is, you know, most cases for us here in the city, we refer things to court.
Yeah.
So we're forgetting about that whole process. That's going to take, you know, a lot of time.
3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
I already told you, this is not an overnight sensation. This is
And then
3
the
to
fines
5.
and stuff. So we don't really implement the fines. We go to court to let the judge allow us to implement the fine, and then the judge determines whether a fine is needed.
Right. Flagrant, you know, the slumlord situations, little old ladies. I understand.
That gives them more time and whatnot.
Yeah.
It's the judge.
But, you know, the problem is that if I have a fire escape, if they don't have a second means of egress, let them take all the time they want because the code concurs. If you don't have a second means of egress, what happens to this box that housed business or residence? What can you do to that box?
Oh, you tell them to close it down.
No, I'll see you in court 3 months from now. We'll talk this whole thing through. Hey, everybody, find a nice hotel. This guy's paying. Because the fire official and the building official have concurred on what? That there is no second means of egress. And their claim is different than your claim that, you know, it's dangerous. Who determined that it was dangerous? Was it you or was it a structural engineer that came in and said it is a red, not a yellow?
That's the building official.
No, it's the structural engineer came in and said, no, it is bad, it's not safe, no, it won't hold the load.
Yeah, but the building official, like, responded to a situation where a second collapsed. Building official would say that's.
Oh, yeah. Immediate.
You know, evacuate. And we had
Evacuate.
on Pleasant
Right.
Street. Yeah, evacuate the building.
So now, in the next 3 to 5 years, you just find fire escapes and start the tagging process. How long will the fixing process take? 3 to 5 years. This whole thing with what Lowell did with the tax record, the tax bill that went out, they just threw it out for 3 months, for a year. They just threw out that little letter saying, if you have one, by